Hello, friends. This is John Sloan, and today I wanted to talk about a technique called the Credo Technique. This is a very powerful technique that was developed and first discussed by a man named Gary Bencivenga. For those of you who are not familiar with Gary Bencivenga, he is widely recognized as the greatest living copywriter or sales message crafter. He's the greatest living one around. There's nobody that writes like he does. I've heard stories of people that were studying his work just to get better at being a copywriter, and they ended up buying a ham. That because that was the thing that he wrote the ad for, and he made it so mouthwateringly desirous that people would buy the ham. They would buy the product that they were, when they were just trying to study how to be a better copywriter. So, yeah, so the concept of the Credo Technique was developed by Gary Bencivenga. And just to kind of give you an idea of what the Credo Technique is, it's a marketing technique. And I can't do any better than just quoting Bencivenga himself. He says, "In your copy, especially your welcome letter, never be afraid to say with clarity and boldness precisely what you believe and specialize in. I call this the Credo Technique." And credo is Latin for I believe. "But it is much more than a technique," he continues. "It is an expression of your most strongly held core values, which serve as a clarion call to gather the like-minded faithful of your marketplace." So, in short, the Credo Technique is you're sort of putting what it is that you believe about what it is that you do and what it is that you specialize in. You're putting it out there, and if someone matches or they like or they share the same values as you, then you're a great match, and you might end up doing business together. And so the idea is that by stating what you believe with the way Gary describes it, just saying what you believe with clarity and boldness, it sends a signal out to those who share those same values and beliefs as you, and it sort of brings them in. To give you an example of the Credo Technique, I'm going to show you the back of my business cards, actually. So this is the back of my business card. It is my marketing creed. And as you can see, my marketing creed is, I believe a test is the only reliable marketing expert. And I kind of stole this one from Mr. Bencivenga. I believe advertising is about making sales. I say I stole it, but I actually do believe that. And he's one of the people that sort of established that belief in me. I believe a copywriter is a salesperson with a pen, not a real writer on a pit stop. I believe in being clear, not clever. I believe the more you tell, the more you sell. I believe in taking the word conversion very seriously. Now, I'm going to pause a quick second just to say that this one, the one about conversion, is my favorite one. In fact, I just finished a series where I break down each of these creedal statements and describe, kind of the stories and kind of the reasoning behind why I believe what I believe in terms of these statements. And the longest one by far is I believe the word conversion. I believe in taking the word conversion very seriously. You'll have to check that one out. It will be under My Marketing Creed Part 6 if you're interested. And then continuing here, I believe all businesses are more interesting than they realize, and that boredom is the destroyer of any sales message. And this one's going to be important because of what we're going to talk about later, because we're going to look at an accounting firm who uses the Credo Technique very, very well. And so that one we'll come back to in a second. And then finally, I believe most of your prospects are sold at the headline, so you need a great one. And then you can kind of see that I pull sort of Bencivenga Credo Technique kind of call to action at the bottom when I say, if you share any or all of these beliefs, visit my website now and click on the How to Work with Me tab. And so that kind of gives you an idea of what Bencivenga meant by the Credo Technique. But I have a little bit of a twist on this, and I talk about it in this post. And the reason that I have this twist on the Credo Technique is because so I was recently graduated from divinity school, and so I know a thing or two about or theology school, and so I know a thing or two about how creeds are meant to function, about how they work, and because of that, I have a little bit of a different take on what the purpose of a creed is. So for Bencivenga, a creed is about sort of putting yourself out there so that people on the outside can see what you're about and be drawn in. But I believe, pun intended, that creeds, and I think I say it here in this post. Let me find it here. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll read it right here. In short, creeds are not primarily for people outside of a group or organization. They are first and foremost for the people on the inside of a group, organization, or in this case, a business. And then I talk about, yeah. And so the idea is that a creed is more so for the person on the inside, not about the person on, not first and foremost about the person on the outside and drawing them in. And this is the way I describe it. In this yellow box here, I say, first, establishing a creed reminds you that you are not crazy. It reminds you of your core values. Okay, you as a business owner, you as an organization, you as a business, a creed reminds you. It's first and foremost for you. And we're going to see in a second an accounting firm who does this so spectacularly well. Like, I was shocked at how well they pulled this off. Yeah, but the Credo Technique is first and foremost, or creeds are first and foremost about people on the inside. And I want you to imagine that you are back in the 1st or 2nd century, and you're a part of this new weird religious sect where you eat bread and drink wine, and you say that it's the body and blood of this guy. And then you also say that the guy that you're eating, okay, when you eat the bread and the wine, is not just a person, not just a human being, but also God. Okay. Imagine taking that sales pitch back to Thanksgiving dinner. It's a little bit tough. I can see Uncle Bob and Aunt Sally and Cousin Tim looking at you while they're passing you the mashed potatoes, trying to, hold back their laughter. And then all of a sudden it just uproars, and then everybody's laughing at you. Yeah, this, and not only that, it's not just for that, but your friends, you're walking around the marketplace and people are like, there goes that guy who believes in eating people, and the people that he's eating are gods. Or is a god, what's going on? And so if you're having to face all these people that you're used to seeing every day, day in and day out, and they're all telling you that you're crazy, you're going to need something that reminds you that you're not crazy, that you're not out of your mind, that you actually are thinking clearly. And so the solution that church theologians came up with was, we're going to develop a set of statements, and we're going to take a long time because we need to get this exactly right. We're going to develop a set of statements that we say every day at church, that we say every time somebody gets married, every time somebody gets buried, and every time somebody gets baptized. These are the things that we believe. And so if you're saying this over and over again, constantly, day in, day out, church service in, church service out, okay, every time somebody gets baptized, then whenever you have to face your laughing uncle, aunt, and cousin, it's a little bit easier to manage. It's a little bit easier to manage because you've got that down in your soul, down in your heart, and you've memorized it, and you just say to yourself over and over again, I believe in God the Father. Well, and as one of the creeds goes. And so, as it relates to business, you know, that's the first thing that it is. So going back to the back of my business card here, whenever a client comes to me and wants to tell me or ask me, do you think, JP, do you think that people are going to read all of this copy? Do you think that somebody's going to read all the words of this advertisement? And, I'm like, yeah, I think they will. And if they don't, I'm going to have such good and great calls to action and such powerful benefits, so well worded, that even if they don't read the whole thing, the parts that they read are going to make them act. But I would rather say more and get the right kind of client than say less and get either no clients or a bunch of the wrong kinds. And so that's, and so I have to tell myself this whenever I'm dealing with a client who says, no, we don't really, are you sure about this whole long, the more you tell, the more you sell? And I have to go back to myself and say, look, this is my creed. I believe the more you tell, the more you sell. And so this is first and foremost for me to remind me that I'm not out of my mind. And so that's why I say that the Credo Technique is actually, it's actually one way that entrepreneurs can keep from going mad and avoid competing on price. Because the second point that I make in this post is that creeds can help protect you from compromise. Okay. With the idea of like stuff like value-based pricing, where you know exactly what it is that you offer, what you have to offer, and you don't have to compromise that. You don't have to cheapen your service. You don't have to do it another way so that you can, and in doing so, do it like how everybody else in the market is doing it, and therefore you become less valuable to a potential client. You don't have to do that because you have your creed. You know what it is that you believe and what it is that you stand for, and you know what what you stand for makes you more valuable in the marketplace. You don't have to compete on price, and so that is another way that that I would say that that the Credo Technique can help entrepreneurs from going mad. It can also help you to avoid competing on price because you have the things that you stand for and you're not really willing, to budge on those because you believe in them and you believe that that's what makes your service, what you do, more valuable than, just the run of the mill, whatever it is that you are. So let's look at an example of the Credo Technique. Okay, so as you can see here, we are on the 7th Rule Accounting website, and we're going to look at their 7 rules because they do a great job of using and utilizing the Credo Technique. Now, I want to make something very clear here. Now, you're not going to find a creed like this one where you have a very clear I believe statement. However, these 7 rules, as you'll see, very much function like a creed. Okay, so let's just go ahead and dive right in. First rule, number 1, debits equal credits. This seems so basic and so boring, but this is what they do with it. It is so fascinating and so great. They tell you that, look, debits equal credits is the foundation upon which the modern double entry accounting system is built. Okay, pretty basic stuff. But then they go into this history. They tell you about Friar Luca Bartolomeo de Pacioli and how he published a treatise in 1494 describing the double entry accounting system used by Venetian merchants during the Italian Renaissance. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is this. Whenever you do a creed and you boldly and clearly say, this is what I believe, it's going to be like clockwork. As soon as you say it, things are going to start going in your head like, okay, well, hold on. Why do I believe that? And not only are reasons going to come to your head, but stories are going to come to your head. Like, okay, what happened in my life, or what happened in my business, or what happened in the world that made me believe this thing? And this is why rule number 1 for seventh rule is such a good example, because they tell you about how Pacioli basically talked about the double entry accounting system that was used by these Venetian merchants. And me being the history nerd that I am, I went and looked up Pacioli. And I discovered that he was actually friends with a brilliant young painter and engineer and a million other things named Leonardo da Vinci. And as soon as I read that, my mind went to 100 different directions for ways that this could be used in a marketing campaign for accountants. So if you're an accountant, listen up to the next little bit that I'm about to say. So I recently did a blog post called The Ugly Toes Secret to Having Your Prospects Choose You. I won't go into the post, but I just wanted to show you that this painting by Da Vinci, this depiction of the Last Supper, was the inspiration for that post. Okay. Now, because Pacioli, basically the sort of father of the double entry accounting system, or at least the way that we know about it, because of Pacioli and his connection to Da Vinci, you could use so many of Da Vinci's famous paintings to grab people's attention, because people are drawn to the Mona Lisa or the Last Supper painting. People are always looking at that. You can use that, and then you can connect it to your services as an accountant. It can be something that's interesting, that's fun, that's not, we'll do your taxes or something basic like that. But it's interesting. It gets people's, minds going and makes you interesting. Kind of like the thing that I say on this seventh Credo statement of mine. I believe all businesses are more interesting than they realize, and that boredom is the destroyer of any sales message. So as an accountant, you can use the Pacioli's connection with Da Vinci and make your business more interesting. Okay. All right. That one was for free. Rule number 2. Okay. I love this one. Let me read it first. Hourly fees should not be a part of the equation. I love this one because it establishes a culture. It establishes a culture before any business is ever done. They're basically saying, look, you can go to all the other accountants out there and you can maybe get, your fees on the cheap because you're doing the hourly rate thing. But if you come here, know that that is not the way we operate. Look at what they say. Rule number 2 reminds us that we are not working on the clock for the customer. We are working on a project for the customer. Okay? They are not slaves to the clock. They are not slaves to time. They just want to do good work. And, again, they're establishing a culture. I recently went to a marketing seminar where they talked about how Disneyland establishes a culture whenever you go there. Like about how they have, all these different trash cans. They have trash cans that are so close to each other, and they have people that pick up trash instantly. And it establishes this culture that if you're at Disneyland, you need to be clean. And it's a subtle way that it does that, right? And we talked about how that is something that every business owner can actually do with their customers and clients, that they can establish a culture and say, look, if we are going to deal with each other, we are going to deal with each other on these terms. These are our boundaries. Okay. Now, I've worked in churches my entire life, basically. And, recently graduated from divinity school, theology school. And so I know a lot about church. And I hadn't really connected this point about establishing a culture to church until, we talked about it at that seminar. But I'm telling you, for better or for worse, churches have cultures, and they are respected so much. I'm talking about you imagine the biggest, baddest, biker, gangeriest, The guy who's part of the biker gang, tatted up, leather jacket, the whole nine. He could walk into a church and would melt in front of some of these old ladies. And it's not just because those old ladies are intimidating. It's because they understand, the person who's walking into the church understands that you can't just act any old way in here. There's a certain expectation for the way that you're going to behave if you're going to be here. And that is what you can actually do for your business. You can do that not just for your employees, but you can actually do that for your clients and customers. And it actually makes you look more valuable and them respect you more. But yeah, all that to say, you can do that with a creed, because a creed says, look, you can go and find other people that do it differently, but we do it like this here. And that adds value to your service. Okay, moving on. Number 3, good accounting should reveal possibilities. I love this one because this one hits at and it aims at a stereotype of accountants, that accountants are just number crunchers and bean counters. And they are the people that tell us what we can't do, what's not possible. They are the ones that tell us the bad news. They are the ones that tell us if you do this, your business will tank. They are the ones that, are going to go over our financials and tell us how it really is. But 7th rule accounting says, no, that's not us. We are not the party poopers. We are not the buzzkills. Is buzzkill even a thing? That's so 2008? Forgive me. Anyway, the 7th rule accounting, they are saying, look, we are not here to tell you what you can't do, or we're not here to tell you, the way things are. We are here to reveal possibilities. That is what we believe good accounting should do. Good accounting should reveal possibilities. Okay. There's one other thing I want to mention, and they do this in Rule 2, but I'll just mention it here in Rule 3. Okay, remember we talked about how the Credo Technique is not primarily about outsiders and drawing them in, but it's about insiders, people that are a part of an organization, and making sure that they don't go crazy, that they don't think that they're crazy, but they, are reminded of the things that they believe. They do this in Rule 2, but let's look at it in Rule 3. Rule 3 is worded this way. Rule number 3 reminds us, okay? It's not for those people out there, but it reminds us that accurate accounting records help our customers find the possibilities that lie before them. It reminds us of that. It reminds the people of 7th rule accounting of that. Okay, the creed is first and foremost about the business or the organization. All right, number 4. A good accountant is always an advisor and a teacher. Okay, again, some great positioning going on here. Okay, an accountant is not the party pooper. They're not here to just tell you like it is or tell you the bad news, but they're here to reveal possibilities, things that you could do to make your business better. Okay, and again, so that was the positioning statement of number 3. But here they're saying, look, if you are going to deal with 7th rule accounting accountants, you are not just dealing with a number cruncher and a bean counter, but you are dealing with an advisor and a teacher. Okay? Our customers look to us to provide counsel when discussing their financial situations. Okay? This relationship provides a means for us to advise and teach them what they need to know to make sound financial decisions in the future. So this statement right here really adds value to the 7th rule accounting firm's services, because it says, look, you're not just dealing with somebody who's going to be in front of, a spreadsheet all day. We're actually going to advise you and give you counsel. All right, number 5, probably my favorite one. A good accountant is a concierge. I hadn't thought about this until I read these 7 rules. This is a phenomenal image here. The 7th rule accounting firm is not just here to print out a report and then we're going to go over it. That's not That's not what they're there for. They act as a concierge. They are a connecting point. So if you have a question about, how can I find somebody that can help me with my marketing for my business? Do you know a good copywriter? Or do you know a good, print shop where I can get my direct mail done? Or do you know a good company that can come and clean my offices? A good ethical company that could come clean my offices. The at Seventh Rule, they're saying, look, because we deal with so many businesses, local small businesses or bigger businesses or whatever they're dealing with, we can connect you, as they say here at the end here. This rule helps direct us to service our customers and help them find the resources they need each and every day we work with them. That's great. This is adding value, positioning Seventh Rule Accounting as not just someone who's going to, deal with spreadsheets. That's not who they are. They're not just number crunchers, but they're connecting point. They can show you where you need to go to get what you need to get. Yeah. Okay. Number 6. Fun is an accounting term. I love this one. They say, look, while fun is not part of the definition of accounting, accounting can be fun. When we see what the data reveals in your situation, we can help you plan to do the more fun things in life. Now, who would ever think of accountant and fun being in the same sentence? Seventh Rule Accounting does. That they're saying, look, we're going against the stereotype that you have of us. We are not these people. We are not these people right here. This is not us. If this is what you have in your mind as an accountant, that's not who we are. This is funny, by the way. I really love this. I found this on an accounting forum. So yeah, it was great. But at Seventh Rule Accounting, no, that's not who we are. We are not this guy. Fun is an accounting term, believe it or not. Seventh Rule Accounting believes that, and they put it up here on their creed. Okay, last one, and this is just a reiteration of all the things we said before, but this is a great positioning statement, a great positioning rule, a great positioning creedal statement. Lead the way. And I love the way they bring it back to the beginning where they say, as referenced in Rule 1, Luca Pacioli led the way by documenting a system of accounting used in the Middle Ages for the rest of the world to adopt and use. Okay, so again, they're saying we are leaders. We are not just here to be brought in when, at year end, or to analyze financial statements at the end of a quarter. That's not what we're here for. We're not just here to do that. We are here to lead the way. Lead the way is a goal for Seventh Rule Accounting because it is our desire to change some of the industry practices that have developed over the years and lead the way to a new paradigm for providing accounting services. Okay. All right. Last thing I want to say, and this is something that I think that Seventh Rule could do better in their creed and their creedal statement. There are 7 rules here. But let me first of all say that this is amazing. Whoever wrote these 7 rules, you deserve an award. This was great. The one thing I will say is that if you look, one of the things that we've talked about so far is that a creed is not primarily about outsiders to draw them in, but it's primarily about insiders to keep them from going mad. Okay, to remind them of their core values. But it's not to say that you can't have some sort of outward facing part of your creed. Okay. And if we look at number 6 here, Number 6 is the only time that they use probably the most important word in advertising. You know what the most important word in advertising is? It is the second person pronoun. Second person pronouns. What do I mean by that? You, your. Okay? These are the most important words in advertising. You and your. Okay, so I'm going to read this one. When we see what the data reveals in your situation, we can help you plan to do more fun things in life. Reduce your apprehension and increase your knowledge. We will take you to the party of discovery and adventure of new possibilities. Okay? Lots of yous and yours in rule number 6, but they're not found anywhere else in the 7 rules. And these are great, and I probably wouldn't even change them. I'm just saying, if you are going to think about a creed, and as you think about your own marketing and what it is that you're doing, just because a creed is primarily about you doesn't mean that you have to completely eliminate any sort of outward facing elements to your creed. You can use you and your more often in your creeds, or at least the explanation of your creeds. Like, for instance, for mine, I have, I believe most of your prospects are sold at the headline, so you need a great one. Okay, that's about me, right? But it's also about you as someone who is a potential client of mine, and that is something that they could use a little bit more of in these 7 rules. But again, phenomenal job with whoever did this for 7th rule accounting. If you ever want to employ the Credo Technique, I highly encourage you to review the 7th rule accounting's website to get a really good idea of the possibilities that are available to you using the Credo Technique. All right, that is all I have for today.